The Angry Birds movie 2 stars Jason Sudeikis as the voice of Red, Josh Gad as the voice of Chuck, Danny McBride as the voice of Bomb, Peter Dinklage as the voice of Ethan Mighty Eagle, Rachel Bloom as the voice of Silver, Bill Hader as the voice of King Leonard, and Leslie Jones as the voice of Zeta, amongst others. This sequel is directed by Thurop Van Orman. The story starts off with the Bird and Piggy Islands still at it with each other, constantly pranking each other to get under their neighbor's skin or feathers or hide. Anyway, as the birds and pigs try to outsmart each other, they soon realize they have a much bigger problem. Zeta turns out to be the main antagonist of the sequel with a plan to destroy both islands and replace them as her private resort. So, the former enemies must now find a way to work with each other and save their islands. Besides this, there's also a side plot involving 3 cute hatchlings. The narrative cuts back and forth between these 2 plots. It gets a little tedious after a while, but hey, the hatchlings are super cute, so I guess that works on some level. Now, we are sent hurtling into this crazy film with the inherent message about learning to work as a team rather than in isolation. But there's something else too. Zeta says, "I'm putting myself first because I worked hard for it and I deserve it." Well, once you hear her motivations, you'll actually agree with her outlook. This is surprisingly interesting for a villain in an animated film based on a mobile game. It also really helps that Leslie Jones brings a lot of sass and personality to the voice, making the scenes with Zeta a lot of fun to watch. But I probably shouldn't be reading too much into this kind of film because it's meant to be a funny watch. That's made pretty evident because there are jokes. Lots of jokes. So many jokes. And that also means there are quite a few duds. But because of the sheer quantity of jokes flying at you at every which way, some of them aren't half bad, some of them are cute, and some are actually smart and funny. The entire cast is pretty much up for all the shenanigans as well. Jason Sudeikis and Bill Hader use their comedic skills to full effect. But Rachel Bloom is really good as the voice of Silver, a nerdy girl, and honestly, Sterling K. Brown is fantastic in everything he does. That's the same here with him as the voice of Gary Pig. But for me, the standout role is by Leslie Jones as the voice of Zeta, and I already mentioned why. And yet, despite all this, there's something slightly tiresome about this film. It's barely 1.5 hours long, and yet you feel it. That's because the plot is simple, but the story goes all over the place, often spending more time to set up a gag than delivering it and moving on to the next gag. And because some of those don't work, it became a little difficult for me to keep my interest, and I felt my attention wandering. Luckily, the animation is so good, so your eyes will be glued to the screen, and I suppose that's what the makers hope for, so good work from them. Still, the story could do with a lot more smarter and efficient writing. There are way too many other animated films out there with more interesting storylines and better characters and jokes too. Most importantly, there's a lot more heart to them, which this film lacks. So I'm going with 3 stars for Angry Birds 2. I guess you'll enjoy this film based entirely on where your sense of humor falls. If you're looking for slapstick and side gags, there's a lot of that. If you're looking for puns, you'll find that too. There are dad jokes and some smart jokes as well. This also means the humor covers all age groups and your kids will enjoy that as well. If that's what you're looking for this weekend, then you won't be disappointed. Guys, thanks so much for watching this review. For more film reviews, interviews, box office stories and more, keep watching because if it's entertainment, you'll find it here on ENOW.